being, God forbid, separated from Hashem, comes from the essence of the Ein Sof, the infinite one, may he be blessed, which transcends the Sphirot, the first of which is the Sphera of Chachma. Okay, so let me repeat it in my words, and then maybe we'll together think about this. We know that Hashem exists, and we also know that the definition of Hashem as we created beings understand. We understand that we could not understand. We could not have a relationship with the beyond, with the infinite. But we are taught in the sacred literature that Hashem, the desire that Hashem desired to be known. Whereas Hashem wishes that his creation understand him or know him. So Hashem emanated from his very being 10 forms of revelation. The 10 forms of revelation are called the 10 Sphirot, and the word Sphirot has in itself many meanings, but we'll concentrate on the word Sapir, which means a bright gem. So in other words, Hashem gave out 10 points of light in which creation can now have a handle, or can have a could have a handle, or could have a means of connecting and understanding to him. These 10 Sphirot, as we all know, which Hashem created as if to say in heaven, because man was created in Hashem's image, so we too have the 10 Sphirot. And in Chassidus Chabad, we're taught a remarkable teaching, that because we are created in the image of Hashem, and because we have the 10 Sphirot within ourselves as an image, if we understand the 10 Sphirot the way it is within ourselves, we'll have a better understanding of how to appreciate and understand godliness. Right? So that's the basic idea, or one of the basic ideas of the 10 Sphirot. Within the 10 Sphirot, we spend a tremendous amount of time discussing the first 3, and of the first 3, the first of the 3, which is called Chachma. The reason why we spend so much time trying to understand and trying to create a language that brings out what Chachma is, because in the sacred writings of Tanakh, it says Hashem b'Chachma, that Hashem with wisdom, he created everything. Everything starts from that point of Chachma. What is Chachma? And again, from the Tanya and all over in Hasidic thought, it's the first beginning of creation. And we call it like the Yesh Me'ayin, an existence that comes from a non-existence. And we can understand this because we do not know where thought comes from, and yet we're all very familiar with the power of thought. Somewhere and somehow we get an idea, and very often that idea, which could be just a millisecond, might actually change our whole lives forever. Thinking about that idea could motivate, it could create, it could destroy, etc. And yet the idea itself, the spark of wisdom, is not something that we could truly understand at all. So the highest form of existence, which is not existence, is Chachma. By analyzing and meditating on this concept of Chachma, it would help us understand and appreciate that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who created the entire universe, he created creation with Chachma. All of this wondrous creation is a yesh me'ayin. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of an existence, or maybe I could suggest another word. It's the beginning of finite from an area. That's no such word from an area, but from a place of infinity. Okay. So in essence, the Ten Sphero is the model which Hashem himself chose to express himself as creator, and that model is within us. Very profound, very beautiful, very important. And now the Rebbe adds, there's another aspect of the soul. There's another aspect of the soul which is not connected to the Ten Sphero at all. When I say not connected, again, the Ten Sphero, 10 points of light, or 10 expressions of the Creator, of godliness, again, not of God, but of godliness, are exactly what it says. They're expressions of godliness. But what is God? So we would answer everything that we understand and beyond. It's not that he's not what we understand, but he's not limited by what we understand. So it's almost as if we're glimpsing through the keyhole into a room. So we might see light, we might see shadows, we might see parts of a body. We don't see the face, we don't see the foot. We see something is going on. We have no idea what it really is. So you can't say you're not seeing what's inside the room, but clearly what we're seeing inside the room is really not seeing at all. So we just use the word, it's a glimpse. So what is Hashem? The Ten Sphero is a glimpse of the mechanism in which Hashem chose to be revealed. But what is Hashem? And the answer is the unknowable, the undefinable, but the reality. God is true. That aspect of God, of God's being, is also reflected in the soul. And that's reflected not in the Ten Sphero, but by Mesiras Nefesh. The readiness to die for God, or more correctly, the constant desire to acknowledge and to cleave to God. That element is even higher than Chachma. In Yiddish, the expression is a magnificent, beautiful expression. Ayid, a Jew, nicht ken, he's not able to, und nicht will, nor does he want, zu sein abgerissen from God, to cut himself off from God. Excuse me. If you acknowledge your skin, for example, look at your skin. Can you imagine for a moment that your skin has a desire to cover you? I mean, you could ask the same question about your finger. Right? Look at your pinky and ask yourself, does my pinky have a will of its own? Does my pinky think to itself, I am a pinky. I am one of the 5 fingers, but I want to be connected to the hand. Even in our imagination, I don't think we could think like that. Why not? Because your skin is you. Your finger is you. It's your body. Nicht will, it's not that there's a will in your finger, und nicht kann, nor is it capable. And they go together. It doesn't have a will of its own to be separate, and therefore it's not capable of being separate. You can't have a pinky connected to my body, and yet it should have the awareness that it desires a separateness. If a pinky is cut off from the hand, God forbid, it's not a pinky anymore. It's dead, I don't know, skin with some bones. It will putrefy. And it's really not only not pleasant to look at, it has no practical value. I don't even know if it could be eaten by an animal. And yet, when it's connected to us, how functional and how important it is. Let me try to say this again, but in a different form. Sometimes we talk about feelings. Okay, so let's say I'll use the expression, I'm feeling happy. Now we could spend time analyzing the word happy. What does that mean? You feel happy. Explain how you feel. We could also even measure the body. We can measure, the blood. We can measure the heartbeat. We could certainly suggest looking at the facial, does he look happy, etc. Okay, so we could discuss the feelings of happiness. So make believe that there are 10 ways one could describe happiness, and I fit every one of those 10. So I could now say, I am happy. I've described happiness. Who is the I? I am happy. In other words, if you could take those 10 aspects of happiness and give it to someone else, would that person feel what I am feeling? No. There is an I. There is someone who is feeling happy. Can anyone describe that person, that essence? I don't think so. We could describe a person's feelings. And we could say maybe that the person has strong feelings. He identifies with his feelings. So in a practical sense, there is no difference between a person who is experiencing happiness and the person. But of course there's a difference. There is that person who is experiencing happiness. Interesting enough, it's at times possible for him to experience happiness and sadness at the same moment. So that unknowable essence is the core of a human being's existence. For a Jew, we could describe that core existence as neshama, soul, which is one with God. So This oneness of a neshama with God is the concept of Mesiras Nefesh, where the soul is constantly given over, surrendering itself to Hashem. And this idea is not really conscious. There's no will. It's not like the soul wants to be one with God. The soul is one with God. Again, let's try to talk about this from a slightly different form, okay? What time is it? Actually, I'll tell it to you in a beautiful anecdote. I've shared this many times with people, but I'll do it again. When Dr. Rabbi Twersky, not the famous psychiatrist, Rabbi Avram Dov, but his brother Aaron, he's a very brilliant man. The whole family is exceedingly talented. He's a very brilliant man. So besides being a Talmud Chacham, he's also a very great lawyer. And I mentioned this in the past. Part of his resume included that he was the dean of law in Hofstra University. Of course, he's a darling of Orthodox Jewry. You know, so you want to bring a proof that you could be religious and Hasidic and very accomplished. He would be, you know, a shining example. So I remember reading an article that he penned for the Jewish Observer sometime after getting the job or being installed as the dean of Hofstra University in law. And he said, everyone's complimenting me on this great accomplishment, but I am frightened. And he, in his, what's he frightened about? He said, I am frightened that my definition of who I am might change. And he told, he gave an example. He said, in my father's synagogue, I don't remember the name, but there was a very, very simple Jew, not very learned in Torah, and certainly was not, he was an immigrant. He didn't know much of the English language or whatever. But he was a fine, wonderful, simple Jew. And he basically was the shamash. He used to be in the shul most of the day, taking care of the books and, you know, telling the rabbi whose birthday and whose yahrzeit. Very wonderful. He said, if you would have woken him up in the middle of the night, just wake him up and say, Yossel, Yossel, wer bist du? Yossel, who are you? What would he have answered? Would he have said, I am a father of four? Would he have said, wer bist du? Who am I? Ich bin a shamish. I'm an attendant. No, he would have said one thing. Yossel, wer bist du? Yossel, who are you? His response would have been immediately, Ich bin a Yid. I'm a Jew. And then when he comes to himself, he would describe himself. He's married, he has children, he has a rabbi, he's active in the synagogue, etc., etc. But who is he? He's a Jew. Ich bin a Yid. So Rabbi Aaron, Dr. Aaron said, I'm concerned now. If someone woke me up at night and asked me, Wer bist du? Who are you? Would I say, I'm the dean? Would I say, I'm a lawyer? Who are you? I'm a lawyer. No. There's a purity of describing yourself of your very essence. I don't want to go off the subject with gender identity and stuff like that, but even something as basic and as true as I am a man or I am a woman as we see in these very strange times, there's a person might be confused about that, which in my opinion is unheard of, but I guess I'm old, I don't know. But what can never be confused is I am a Jew. Why? Because the essence of who are you? There's me, I am happy, I am sad, I am wise, I am dumb, I am a man, I am a woman. All of that is I. But who is the I? The I is a neshama. I'm a part of God. And though it sounds completely philosophical and mystical at the same time, it's also incredibly practical, because we know this till today, 2021, but we know this from the 3,300 years of Jewish existence. Jews would insist that when they die as a Jew, even if they don't live as a Jew. So what we call martyrdom, people that gave up their life for their religion, it wasn't for observance, because we have countless, literally countless, numerous cases of Jewish people who sadly did not keep the Torah and mitzvahs, who sadly did not have children who were of the Jewish faith, and yet they insisted they want to be buried in a Jewish cemetery. They want a rabbi to say their last prayers. You know, hold on, you never respected him to begin with. And you never respected the faith and the religion of your ancestors. What changed now? What changed now is the true I became revealed. I'm not a lawyer. I've been retired for 40 years. I'm not a father. My kids hate me. I'm not a man. Look at me. I'm a shriveled nothing. What am I? I'm a Jew. That has never changed. That has been from the moment I was born, but I've been denying it all of these years, but not now. Because now the truth, or if you use the expression, the naked truth stares me. And I want to acknowledge that with a prayer, with a Shema Yisrael, with a burial, whatever it might be. So today's Hayom Yom is incredibly profound. There are 10 Sphirot, and the highest of the 10 Sphirot, the first of the 10 Sphirot is Chochmah, the initial act of creation from non-existence to existence, from a sense of beyond transcendence, infinity, to something finite. It might not have an end, but it has a beginning. So there's nothing more spiritual or more sacred than Chochmah. And for a Jew, there's an additional aspect. The additional aspect is Mesiras Nefesh. Every Jew is born with the trueness of I am an extension of God. I am the breath of Hashem. I will never be separated. I don't want to be separated. I can't be separated because I am one. And that beautiful, profound thought is, I think, partially the way I explained it is today. And with that, I will wish you a very good day. It's beautiful. Also, let me just remind you that tonight we have a class at 7:30. Usually it's Chassidus. In particular, I'd like to talk about, many of us are going to New York next week. Many of us will be going to, and then the rabbis will always say, did you go to the Ohel? So I'd like to talk a little bit about the Ohel. What is it, some of the reasons or some of the ideas going to the resting place where the Rebbe is. Okay, shalom everybody, good day.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good day.